I'm going to admit on the front end of this segment when we talk about the very serious thing in sports, one of these somber tone discussions, sociological discussions that we have when the circus collapses in your face and you're like, ooh, the entertainment, it's all gross, it's bought, it's greedy, and of course the country club golfers would immediately splinter. Mickelson gambling and God knows how much. Of course they splinter. Greg Norman needs more. Of course they splinter and go after the Saudi money, and that's how golf got bought. That's how the Saudi money, not long after accusations of bone sawing a journalist, and that's what we know about, right? Like this is what they were buying.
I think we can drop the accusations at this point.
But I'm just saying they knew what they were buying. Let's go over there with all our oil money that ruins the earth. Let's go and buy golf. It'll be easy. Yeah, watch. Bought. Holy shit, that happened fast.
Yeah, you say easy. LIV Golf, the news breaking, by the way, is the PGA Tour and LIV Golf have merged, and this is a bombshell. No one saw this coming. It was very tight-lipped, I guess, for pretty obvious reasons, because right now the PGA has a member base in their players that is furious. Stugotz, you were telling me that Colin Morikawa is hugely upset. Apparently, all the PGA players found out at the very exact same time we did.
Yes.
That the entity they spurned and decided to not take the oil money, blood money, the Saudi money, and they made this moral high ground call. Now all of a sudden they find themselves aligned with LIV Golf, and they didn't have any time to prepare for it. And it's quite the bombshell to drop on your players.
It seems like a lot of this merger was done to make lawsuits go away, and maybe the PGA Tour felt like they were going to lose a good deal of those lawsuits and lose a good deal of money, which they cannot do because unlike the LIV Tour, they don't have an endless well of money. And so Mike is right. Players are upset because they're not finding this out from their commissioner. They're finding it out on social media like everyone else. And then there's going to be certain players who really back the PGA Tour who are going to feel like they were kind of stabbed in the back today because, hey, we backed what we thought was right about the game. The tour that we thought was the right tour to be on, we didn't leave and take $150 million guaranteed dollars. Certain golfers did, and now they're being rewarded.
Tiger Woods could have had $900 million. There were some who took a moral stand. But again, this is the country club being brought, like this sport, individual greed being what it is. This is shocking for a number of reasons, and given what you've seen during the pandemic, probably shouldn't surprise you at all. Like, this is how you buy shit. It's how you buy shit with dirty money.
This is surprising. This is surprising because from a business standpoint, it didn't look like LIV was working. I mean,
they're on the CW.
They're getting booted off for original programming, and where you don't actually get to see the end of their golf tournaments. No one was taking their video rights. They're paying to be on the CW. Oftentimes just the CW's app that we all learned together was a thing. This is a stunner, and I can't wait for more reporting being done on this because this was a very closely guarded secret, and it came together super fast. And I think we're just at the very start of all the repercussions of this because what about the guys that actually took the money? Those are the guys, they're the smartest guys in the room.
Yes.
And that's why Colin's pissed, because he's like, wait, so I could have said yes to that, and then we would just all be back together now?
No, they're all upset.
I make millions upon millions upon millions more than I would have made here, and all of a sudden I find myself with my PGA card again.
Koepka is one of the big winners here because he took the money, he left the PGA Tour, and just won the last major. I mean, it's crazy. And I understand why certain golfers are upset. But Phil, when he originally started this, said he set out to, poke the PGA Tour and show some inconsistencies and show that they weren't paying the players enough money. And perhaps Phil, was right.
It's just wonderfully, though, symbolic that Phil, of all people, you're not paying me enough to gamble the way I like to.
Yeah.
Well, it was name and likeness stuff as well, Dan, social media.
But he can be right and also have what is widely reported to be, by many, many people, litigiously, a gambling issue, that guy would be like, yeah, Saudi money, like it's artistic gymnastics to have that guy lead this merging of businesses so that golf could be bought.
Yeah, I feel like that was gratuitous on Phil Mickelson. I don't know where. Yeah, we know that about Lefty.
No, the reason I'm saying is he's got a greed problem.
Well, I don't think he's got a. America has a greed problem. This is a capitalistic venture, and I think it shows how quickly Saudi money can really change the game. The PGA essentially had a monopoly on things, and LIV, through all its failings, still found a way to infiltrate it and now merge, and we'll see the details. Did the Saudis just totally get rid of it? Is this a true merger? Are the Saudis now a part of the PGA? How does that make everybody feel that your Masters and Augusta, a tradition unlike any other, now all of a sudden has Saudi money attached to it?
Well, the majors caved. That was a big part of this. The majors caved. They wanted the best players playing in their tournament.
Naturally.
I wanted the best players playing in those tournaments. But I just want to clear something up because, yeah, maybe Phil is greedy, but Phil's point all along is the PGA Tour is greedy. They're not giving us enough money. They're not giving us, use of social media or names and likeness. They're taking all the money for stuff that we tweet out, stuff on social media. We want a piece, and now they're getting a piece. Like the PGA Tour has made some drastic changes in terms of total purses for tournaments and generating more income for its players because of the LIV Tour.
I love the symbolism. You said, why take out Phil Mickelson? I love the symbolism of him now getting to be a freedom fighter. A pioneer. A justice warrior. By taking that Saudi money, this is what I'm telling you.
Yeah, I mean, his colleagues.
It's comedy.
His colleagues will look to him. And he was already kind of getting this reputation. His colleagues were kind of looking at him because there was more of the pot. The PGA was coming to the table. This was getting golfers a little bit more money. So it'll be interesting to see if history kind of remembers Phil Mickelson because he's a guy that kind of made all this work. He's a guy that took
Kurt Flood.
He's a guy that took the huge PR
seriously,
hit.
let's make him Jackie Robinson.
He's a guy that took the huge PR hit at the start, and then everyone kind of followed his lead once they realized how to navigate it, and he learned through his own failings on how to navigate the PR thing. I think it shows how quickly Saudi can really mix things up here. And if I'm the UFC, I get nervous because they could just as well do that.
Nervous?
I would get nervous.
I don't think they get nervous. I think they say, whoa, so we can legitimize this kind of business and make some more money on the side. So a couple of interesting things. This morning at 8 a.m., there was a news story about how the antitrust case between LIV Golf and the PGA Tour had reached a roadblock. Basically, the PGA wanted there to be discovery, and the Saudis said, well, we're immune from discovery because of sovereign immunity, and so this was going to get tied up in the courts, and it was going to last for a long time. I'm curious to see what the connection between those two things, that knowing that this legal process would not be swift,
right,
and the decision, all right, let's just merge. They did not buy out LIV. Right? This press release does not say, like, hey, we're just going to buy the tour, buy the thing, thanks a lot. Like, which is, I think, the way we're conditioned most of the time to think of these types of ventures that are disruptors, right? It's usually smaller scale things, and they go up against the big boys, and the big boys say, guess what, we'll just buy you, and now you're just part of us. That's not what happens here. What's happening, according to their own press release, is a merger.
Yes.
They're creating a new entity, and PIF, which stands for the Public Investment Fund, which is the Saudi financing arm, basically, are going to make a capital investment into the new entity to facilitate its growth and success. Ladies and gentlemen, this isn't the PGA saying, let's get this litigation out the way, let's just buy these guys out. You made your point. This is, hey, those people that we called all these words in the book, you want to be my business partner now? Mm-hmm. Which highlights, I think, one of the hypocrisies that a lot of people around the world feel about the United States. And I'm not here to defend the Saudis. I know they're pieces of shit. And I'm not here to defend the Qataris. They've got the same issues going on over there of heinous acts. But there seems to be a real comfort with attacking these people and painting them in a certain light up until the money hits your account, in which case, like, oh, no, they're fine. And that's kind of been America's relationship with dictatorships around the world. They're evil until they're on our side, and in which case, no, they're fine.
But I mean,
they're fine.
so when the politics comes to the playground, I want you to explain the compromise that's being made here when you're someone who came to this country with very difficult to get to freedom to watch Saudis just buy their way in that easily. You know sports business. You know that greed has a cold, is heartless. There's nothing there but get more money.
Dan, I'm going to tell you right now, like what's happening in my country, Sudan, right now, where it's being torn apart by two militarized factions, one the actual army, the other the militia, and they're both being funded by some of these people. Like they're getting their money, they're getting their arms, they're getting their munitions from the Saudis. They are players in this, as are the Russians, as are several other foreign nations. And when I hear kind of like this, whatever. I mean, this is all part of the same ecosystem of money being able to make things go away. But I really do find it interesting that when Americans, for instance, got so up in arms about LIV Golf, oh, how could they? And these people are terrible people. It's like, do you know who these terrible people do business on a daily basis with? Who are on great speaking terms with many a politician? Y'all, you're part of this. You don't get to say, oh, that's awful. In the same way that people were going after the NBA about being in China. I'm like, you want to count how many American companies are doing business in China?
You can't be a Fortune 500 company and not do business with China. You cease being a Fortune 500 company. But the PGA does have a problem with its hands because the marquee faces, like think about how Rory feels.
Right.
He's been trotted out there week after week to be the face of this because he genuinely feels something morally. And now guys like Brooks Koepka, Phil Mickelson leave with $500 million and now reunification with the league that he was defending week after week in front of microphones. This is a bad look.
Mike, Tiger turned down $800 million. $800 million.
I'd be pissed. I'd be pissed.
I'd be furious. Like, okay, resign ourselves to the hypocrisies. Even the PGA did plenty of business with their European tour in Saudi Arabia. And the hypocrisy from the PGA was clear. But there were individual golfers that felt very strongly about this, that actually put their principles over money. And now they're back with the Saudis.
PGA Tour Commissioner Jay Monahan will not survive this. The merger was bungled in such a way he will resign or be fired.